Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob. And I'm on the Bop. Here it is, June 13th, 14th, whatever it is. What is it? Let's see what the magic box says it is. So, boop, 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 boop. June 15th. Oh, the month is flying by. So I have to wear this thing to even see, right? And I'm supposed to get my eyes operated on end of the month and a little bit in the middle of next month, and so it'll be interesting. And I'm living out in the middle of nowhere, where it's beautiful, and I only momentarily get interrupted by the crass, annoying rich, and they're not even rich. They're mildly middle class, you know. I think they're rich. They got some money, you know. You can throw it around, but that money is worthless. Your money is worthless. So why even, I live like a millionaire on $400 a month, right? Because mostly I eat from my garden and from the woods. And majority of my diet last month has been daisies, right? So, um, which are really good for you. So that's where I'm at. So here's some ideas I was just thinking about. So this is regular, what we're experiencing. Uh, hey Ed, good to see you, buddy. So what's going on in your neck of the woods? Is it regular? So my observation, did you know that Russia is actually making more money on their gas and oil today than they were before they had the war? That was part of the gig. That was part of, and all of that money is going into, Putin doesn't have a big piggy bank of cash. His oligarchs do, and he uses their money when he needs to because he controls them. And they have taken, since Putin's been in power the last 30 years, they have taken over $2 trillion just in their wealth, not in GDP, not in resource um, value, but in their singular wealth and put it offshore. They still have trillions in Russia, but they've taken 2 point something trillion dollars and put it offshore. And one of the reasons, now the only thing really substantial that Donnie Trump did was he passed a tax bill, right? Giving the, disgustingly rich, not even rich. I mean, money is irrelevant. It's about cash equals, in a certain sense, power, but not really power because power comes from your ability to appreciate the fact that you are the decider. Your life is yours. Back in 1872, Mr. Rothschild basically pushed through our legislature the reason why we had the Civil War, and that was to give corporations the constitutional rights of individuals, which then made America a fascist state. What is fascism? Capitalism is when capital controls the economic flow, right? What is socialism? It's when the state controls the economic flow. What is fascism? That's when corporations own the control of the economic flow. And that's where we are right now. Why did certain people not have baby food? Why is a billion people going to die of starvation by this time next year? Why is more than 20 million people going to die of starvation in the United States? And when I say that, what's going to happen? Like right now, I go to churches that give poor people food. I'm really poor. I live on $400 a month. I am way below the poverty level, right? And so they used to give me 5 or 6 boxes of vegetables and things, and I had myself put on, hey, I have diabetes. I can't have sugary this. I can't have starchy that. And today, like the last time I got a box, I got, 3 cans of vegetables and a cabbage and 2 onions. But I did get 4 boxes of sugary cereals. I did get a bunch of pasta and a bag of potatoes, all things I can't eat. 80% of what they gave me will kill me. And then I went over to another church to get some food, and they said, "Sorry, Al, we can't give you any more food." I said, "Why is that? I didn't win the lottery." I said, "No, no, no. The government isn't giving us food, so we had to prioritize families with kids." And I said, "Well, that's great. I understand. No problem." And I was talking to the guy who was talking to me, and this guy drives up in his Sedona, gigantic GMC. It's like a SUV on steroids. It's like 12 feet high. The tires are 4 feet big. The vehicle, costs. I mean, it was like the 2022 vehicle, and it gets about 0.08 miles per gallon. It's diesel, and he pulls in, and he hasn't signed in. So I got my window open. I'm listening, and this lady is signing him in, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm below the poverty level." He's driving $100,000 car, and he's my age or 60 something, and he's there with his wife, and he goes, "My son died, and I'm taking care of his 6 kids." Right? So they just packed his car up with food because they didn't get, didn't have to, he didn't have to show, a bank record. He didn't have to show that he was taking care of the kids. He just said it. He lied because he's a rich guy who just bought a piece of property down the road from him. He paid $500,000 for it. So he's not, he's got $100,000 car. He bought, just a lot for $500,000, and he's got no kids. He's just got his, trophy wife, who's about 30, and he's 68 or something, and he drove off with a car full of food. And that's what's going on in America. That's not regular, right? Um, so you have to realize that we live on a planet of abundance. That there isn't scarcity. Adam Smith doesn't work. Everyone, we don't need to have an economic system where if you do to me, I'll do that for you. What is that? The difference between conditional love and unconditional love. Man, have half of what I have because half of what I have is enough for me, and you have nothing. It's half of what I have. The whole world is more than enough for everybody. But there are close to 500 million people starving to death right now. And we have granaries and and it's not a supply chain. You look in the United States, and this has happened across the world. We've more than 70 food processing facilities have caught fire, or something's going wrong with the mechanism of production. I mean, a good example is the baby food debacle. Right? Noon on the day here in yep, Tipperary, my friend, Schwangafall. Uh, so I was asking, the thing of this is this regular? No, it's not, but it is. If I'm a guy who got paid for 40 something years, I had lots of skill sets: master electrician, amazing healer, photojournalist, filmmaker, artist, negotiator, but I was also an itinerant scholar, which meant that I wasn't a scholastic. You know, I wasn't running my life by the textbook, and that's why they wanted me. They wanted me to look at things, you know. And has anyone ever heard of Looking Glass? You know what Looking Glass is? Why did we go into Iraq in 1991? We went into Iraq in 1991 because the French and the English had unearthed some really interesting technology. And Iraq is the center of where all the advanced civilizations were a million years ago, right? Not Atlantis or Lemuria. Those were lifeboat places. And they suffered the pitfalls of the environmental change. Just what we are doing right now. We are experiencing the pitfalls of the environmental change. Well, the thing about China is that they're not going to invade anybody in Southeast Asia. They're going to invade the west coast of America. And the bottom line of this is um, they spend half of what Russia spends on weapons. Russia spends 60 billion a year. That is what the U.S. Defense Department spends in 3 weeks. No, right? And if any of you have seen the Stan Lee movies, uh, you know, um, X Men or any of that stuff, that's exactly what is going on. And the World War II, you have to realize, what does Nazi stand for? National Socialist, right? And um, what is that? That's a fascist state. That is when corporations own, not control, own the means of production. Right? How did Germany go from people eating, selling their children for a loaf of bread, eating dirt, to being the most prosperous and most um, you know, highest GDP in Europe during the Depression? Hitler comes into power in '33, legally voted in. He burns the Reichstag. He passes their version of the Patriot Act, and they're off to the races, right? And they got rid of central banking and had the Treasury Department print the money. Every time Lincoln went to do that, he got shot in the head 2 weeks later. Kennedy went to do that, he was shot 4 weeks later. Right? Go look at the last 5 speeches that both Lincoln and Kennedy made. When they were trying to give corporations the rights of constitutional law, um, he got up in Congress and said, we just had a civil war over this, and over my dead body will I let this happen. Well, 2 weeks after he made that speech in Congress, he was dead. You know. Now, I'm an old guy, and I've died 7 times already, right? And the last time I died after my spell of 15 years of hedonism, I didn't die. I popped up on the gurney as they were rolling me into the operating room where they got cut my legs off and frigging crack my chest and do quadruple bypass, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, right? Move me, put me back in the ICU and let me speak to that lawyer guy. I said, get me out of here. You want me to do what you want me to do? He said, well, he said if he operated on you, you'd be good to go in 2 weeks. I said, what kind of moron you are? I'd be dead. I mean, cut my legs, crack my chest, 2 weeks? No. So I said, you get me down to your house in the Keys and get me a colonic therapist, get me a nutritionist, get me an endocrinologist, get me an acupuncturist, get me. And I just went through the line of all the things I need, and he did. Right? And they worked on me for 3 weeks, and it got me to a place where I could hobble into his office and spend 2 weeks doing what he wanted me to do. I succeeded. He was righteous enough not just to pay me a big chunk of change, but sent me back to his really palatial castle on the coast, on the beach in the Keys, and paid for those people to tweak me up for another 2 months until spring came, and that's when I went back to the deep green. And then I still had everything wrong with me, just like I do now, and I had to. Took me 7 years to get to where I am right now. I lost 240 pounds. Everything kind of. I am in homeostasis, right? So I'm in balance. Uh, Now, cash is nice, but your love is all I really need. Meaning, it's about, we're almost at 500, we're at 480 something. And every show I do, this is shamanic ceremony. I am pumping this into the World Wide Web. It is affecting every thread of the World Wide Web, not just the 400 and something people who are part of the country, but it's out there. So, you know, as long as somebody puts something into PayPal, it doesn't have to be hundreds or thousands of dollars. $10 works. Somebody sent me $17 last week, and that was just enough that my bank account didn't get closed. So, um, and if it does, you know, all those people, all those rich people who are all around me, they bought all the land, they ripped it apart, and then they left. They came, they bought, they conquered, they destroyed, and then they left. So I'm back to living, in the yes. There are a few still zipping around in their three wheelers and being annoying, but I never really hear them. When they're doing that, I'm here, right? And when they do it, um, they do it in places they really shouldn't be doing it, and meaning at some point, they're going to be zipping down this path that they shouldn't be going. There's a fallen tree, because all the trees are dying, you know. And the forest I live in today is not the forest that was there 20 years ago. And so, I sit in the woods, and every day I crackle, 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 smack. I mean, 5 or 6 trees fall down in my forest every frigging day. No one's cutting them down. And the woodpeckers are going nuts because the trees are all rotten. It's truly amazing. You walk through the forest, and I can't hike like I used to. I can only walk on my 4 acres that I have because I built paths that I can, I have steps, I have things, I got my walking stick, and and that's what keeps me healthy. Is that I made my property so instead of building one big house, I have a thing over here and a thing over here and a thing up here, and then I have 5 little teaching temples. Because back in the day, about 15 years ago, I had my mystery school up at the school in Roanoke, and people came to that, but they, I waited for the students. They never came. Oh man, here's $300. Give me a certificate that says I'm a shaman. You know, and if you go on the internet, there are all kinds of people going on about their blah blah blah, and it's a waste of time. Now there's some really good people. I mean, the YouTube's pretty amazing. Look, I'm on YouTube. There's some really good people. There's some really good information. Yeah, and most people, the YouTube and the other platforms are just similar to the dynamics of like CNN and MSNBC and Fox. Meaning they are siloed platforms. People go to these platforms to just listen to what they want to listen to. I mean, people listen to Jimmy Dore. I mean, I like Jimmy. He's all right, but he's definitely has his point of view. I don't believe in anything. Uh, so if somebody put something in, you know, in a special place, and of course, um, when they do that, there's a black background, and the letters are in black. So even with this thing, I can't read them. Let's see. I'll put the super duper thing and get really close. Well, we're all in the dump. That's all I can say. We're all living in our cesspool, and we most of us don't know this. Most people don't have a clue, right? Which is, it's okay because none of this matters. This is all an illusion. The only thing that exists is love's co-creation and love's, love's. One needs to keep, and I never like using the word God because you take it back into Sumerian, it means ugly, stinky mud puppet. And so any name like that, everything in English is a sitchin. Every word is a spell. That's why they call it spelling, right? And so anybody out there who's an editor, or I need I've written, all I've been doing the last 2, 3 years is reading and writing. I just reread a great book called Ender's Game. It was written in 1977. It's a kind of pulp, you know, sci-fi book. But this guy pegged it all, right? He just in 1977, what he was talking about the world was going to be in 1977. It is what's going on right now. But the general population don't know what's going on. I mean, the general population don't know that we have spent um, basically half of the wealth of the planet um, to fund a breakaway space-based civilization. That you know, all the crazy stuff we see in the sky, 90% of it is ours. Aliens don't need spaceships to get here. They walk through the door of the closet in their house, and they come out the men's room of the Burger King and wherever they want to be. So their technology is so. Yep. So, but none of this matters. Because what's the worst can happen to us? Die? So what? I've died 7 times. I know it's not that big a deal. Right? And you know, next time or the time after, I got 9 to go, and I have one uh, young. When I say young woman, anything younger than me in my mid 70s is young. Yeah, yeah. I meet people in their 40s, and I call them kids. So there is someone coming in my life who I will have a child with. They will either have a child, and I will be, you know, the male in that unit, or we will have one, right? And that child will be important, right? And um, and that's what has been foretold to me. And so that's pretty much everything. About 89% of everything that was foretold to me, I've done, or it has been accomplished. And you know, but that last 15% or so is why they sent me back, right? And so um, you know, free energy, Tesla discovered it in 1891. Newton discovered it in whatever year he was around, like 14, before 1400s, the 1700s. I mean, this technology, you look at the Egyptian pyramids, they were scalar weapons. What is the Oort belt, where we have all the asteroid belt? That was a planet that was between Earth and Mars, and there was a galactic war here. Everything that George Lucas wrote about was what happened. We used to have 2 suns. Jupiter used to be another sun. It kind of punked out. Or didn't ignite, or didn't ignite totally. So here we are, 24 minutes, and everyone's gone. You know? So I guess I'm just gonna give a lesson here, and you all can go back and listen to it. Because I'm gonna have a stream of people visit. I've already had 2 visitors, and one of them he's a pretty smart guy. That's why I just started talking to him. Military physics background, and I started telling him things that was just He had, but they had wiped his mind. I had shamanically his mind. Tears were rolling down his face, and he had to get out of here. I gave him my card and I said, "Well, you got and dreams. Here it is. Here's my phone number. Here's my email. I'll come, come back, have breakfast here. I'm here like at least, a couple times a month. Think about, is he here now? If you get the signal, yes, I probably will be. Right? So, not real. Yeah. And Mike is in and out. I tried to use the earphone. I'll go back. Is this better? Is this better? Am I better or worse? I mean, whenever I start talking about something interesting, of course, there's technical issues. Right? Because I am watched. And guys, when I say guys, I'm not talking about the cadre. Well, I am because, AI is part of the cadre. You know, the unipolar power structure is part of the cadre. I'm still alive. I'm living like a millionaire on $400 a month because A, I can, but B, my former employers realize they kind of may need me, and that's okay. When they show up, I'll be glad to work for them. Right price, total autonomy, because that's how I always work, and I always deliver. And they're really in a tussle whether to let everything fall apart, but they can't. And that's why they had Donald Trump. I mean, that's why they had first. That's why they whacked Jack, and that's why we had every other president since. Every single president was a disruptor, just knocking the pegs out of the unipolar hegemony that they put up. They realized that it wasn't going to work anymore. So is my mic okay? Mic is okay, yes. Yep. So I was talking about that and why we went into Iraq in '91 is that the French and Germans found this artifact that became known as Looking Glass. Now they had other versions of Looking Glass because they first of all, they had guys doing remote viewing, and so they could remote view almost anything, but just one little teeny bit where Looking Glass gives you a gigantic, it's like looking at a big screen TV, and in time, so you can go all the way back in the past and all the way into the future. And within the construct of Looking Glass, you can ask it a question, so if we have nuclear war here, what will be the outcome there, right? If we do this, what will happen to that? And so they had a version of Looking Glass, but it was like analog. And the one that they found in Iraq and stole was more like super digital. In actuality, it was the keystone to quantum computing, right? So this thing still worked, because they, found this site, they cleared it out, they dug into it, they went into this room that was still like the cleaning lady left yesterday, and everything was hot, was working. And they found this kind of black thing that was maybe a diameter of 2 meters and maybe was a quarter meter high. And there were these kind of bucket seats. And one of the head dudes sat in it and died. and then a more interesting person sat in it, and their consciousness got the machine to work. Very similar to the technology that they had discovered on board the flying saucers of Roswell, and then they had retrieved what is known as exotic technology, or what is also known as foreign technology, for years. I mean, back before the Civil War, right? Though there's a guy who had a very the Fortean Society, Charles Fort, who was a reporter for the Herald Tribune, science editor. So he kept giving stories that they just couldn't write because that went against the grain of what the unipolar structure wanted to have at the moment. So, that was the issue. And so, and the Civil War was nothing about slavery, not even about state rights. It was about the ability for the unipolar hegemony to exert its control over ever expanding a country like the United States. And the United States was just a microcosm of what we are experiencing in space. Because what Gene Roddenberry visioned in 1967 is actually what was going on. The Federation existed not for Earth per se, but for the unipolar power structure. Because Germany, World War II, bombed into the Stone Age, actually won the war, right? And they wanted exactly what happened, because over 1 million of the high-level Nazis escaped to the South Pole and the continent of I forgot what they called it, but anyway, New Schwabenland, and the to Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, and all of South America and Central America. And that's kind of what Iran-Contra was about, to assert the unipolar thing on that land. And that's why we have all the people escaping into our country, because we started an event happening in the early 80s that we are now just experiencing the outcome from. Right? And if our country can only work with new flushes of blood, right? And that's been America. America is a country of immigrants, right? Whereas countries like Japan and China itself, China's biggest problem is that 40% of their population is over 60, right? And they're having to spend a good chunk of their capital on taking care of the old people. How do you think they're locking down all of these cities? Because they are trying to kill off as many of the people who they don't find as worthy. Right? They set up this, in the United States, we have a credit number. Well, they have a social number. If you're not valuable to the state, then and they're going to get rid of you. So, and China's biggest issue is that it's got a foot in each. It's got its foot in National Socialism. It's got its foot in capitalism. It's got a foot in socialism. And because of that, it can accomplish some pretty amazing things. I mean, lifting 1 billion people out of, eating dirt to being, consumers, that's a pretty amazing thing. But by doing so, they painted themselves in the corner. So the only country that they can truly physically invade where it's worth their while to do is the United States. Invading Thailand or Taiwan or any of the they already got them. They already got their control. They already got them where they want them. They don't have to go any further, right? And so it's
The where and the nothing is as it seems to be. I mean, just think of what is going on, in 1999. We're worrying about, Y2K, and that wasn't it. But the thing about Y2K was that Looking Glass device started telling the unipolar hegemony, you're toast. No matter what you do, the outcome is you're toast, and a positive path for humanity is already on, right? And it doesn't matter if you wipe everyone out or don't wipe everyone out, or however it goes. The worse you make it, it's only going to be worse for you. So all you people who watch this, if you can put love in your heart and serve love's co-creation, and in every day and every way be the artist in the first person as one love, then you're good. It's not a problem. If you have love's unconditional um, love in your heart, and you shine it out onto everyone, and if you have Jesus, and Jesus does say he was one of the lucky bastards, and they have been, Buddha, Vishnu, you name any character of that, they're lucky bastards. They're genetically engineered characters to show up on the stage. Shakespeare, Plato, all of those kind of things. They're all engineered to give it a little nudge. That's me. I'm a lucky bastard. All I'm doing is giving a little nudge. I'm not a world leader. I'm not a holy man. I'm a guy who has to wear a $7 Ben Franklin pair of glasses I got at Harbor Freight. This is designed to enable you to work on watches, but it also enables me to read. Let's see, what do you guys think? Yes, basically. So the unipolar hegemony wants to get rid of Russia. They're really, because Russia is like, and they own it already through Putin. Putin's been a bad man, and he's re-engineered Russia, right? But the Russian gene of what and who they are is not going anywhere. So that's all of the things that'll be really interesting are the unexpected consequences, right? And so that'll be interesting to see what happens, right? And that's what I used to get paid for, is to pull the threads apart and look at what the unexpected consequences are going to be. And so there are a number of people like me, right, who are in the military or working in the corporate world or any of the above, and I work for everybody, right? But I would just have projects because I never wanted to sign on. I didn't want to, sign the non-disclosure. I always had to sign the non-disclosure thing, but just for that little thing that I did for them, not for the big picture. They did not shut me up for the big picture because they didn't want to. They wanted me to be shut up. I would be shut up, right? But they don't. They want dreamy dreamland. And what is dreamy dreamland? So, the Looking Glass was telling them, forget it, guys. No matter what you do, no matter what war, no matter how many people you kill, no matter what you do, you are toast. Right? Love is the only way. Right? So I've been saying that for 50 years. I've been told. In 1972, I went to a big conference at the UN. I showed you pictures of it, and part of it because I was taken to a conference by my boss to a place in Toronto that was basically the Bilderbergs and this, CFR and a few other guys going to a place that no one, a kind of little town with a nice hotel, and basically, I already had been exposed to the fact that Earth, what we're experiencing as what we think Earth is really just a very short little slice of Earth's experience, right? Earth has, for most of its life, been a frozen snowball, right? That's really what it wants to be. And just for this 60 million years or so, since the asteroid hit it, and basically there had been this blip that gave us the dinosaurs. Turned all the Earth from a frozen snowball into a lush green paradise, and the people who were things that were running it were the dinosaurs. They were the ones who shot ahead. And then that wasn't part of the plan. So someone threw a asteroid at it and killed everything except for a few germs and a couple of mice and some insects. And bingo, less than 16 million or maybe 60 million years later, here we are, right? But the planet bounced back within less than a million years, right? And then, it was terraformed for us. We're an experiment, at least our bags of water. We're a spiritual creature that is immortal, and our soul is just the server, because it is based in, I take you through guided meditation into your, Akashic record. It's just a library, and in that fireplace there is that twin blue flame. Well, that's your soul. So it is the connective tissue between this bag of water and your Akashic record. And then, on the left are your guides, and on the right are the 9 doors. And one door, closest one to you, is open, and that is your superconscious mind. And you walk through it. There's a little vestibule, and then there's these steps, and you go up the staircase, and then you're on a bridge, and that's the connective. And Dragon sent me a drawing that he did when he was a teenager, like 11 to 15, of describing exactly what I described in the guided meditations. And but he did it about 15 years before I had Dreamy Dreamland. And for some reason, the powers that be don't want Dragon and I to communicate. Just like Buddy. Buddy and I, he can send me stuff, but I try to send him things, and Google keeps getting in the way. Right? And no matter how I try to send it to him, no matter what I said, yes, he can read it, yes, blah, blah, blah. He only gets bits of it or parts of it or none of it all. And so that's, and Buddy keeps saying, well, this is a sign that nailed, Dragon nailed, And so, and I'm sad, and Dragon's really upset because he thinks I'm doing that, but he's come to realize that I didn't have anything to do with it. That because there are certain people in the cadre that I've been sequestered from, right? And they watch, and they can kind of email me, but even that, like with Buddy, is made difficult. And Dragon, he's like, gotten different names and different IPs, and we talk a little bit, and then he disappears again. And they tell him that I've like knocked him off the channel or taken him off my. No, I don't even know how to do any of that. And if I ever did, like months ago when I did a catastrophe like that, it's because I was stupid and I can't even see. I can't see. The instructions do this, and I can't even see. So everything is. You see anything on Dreamy Dreamland, it is a miracle. I'm a miracle. I'm here. I'm a miracle. I survived my death. Hey, buddy, I'm still here. No, I have to come out there. I'll be right back. Okay, hold on. Be right back, guys. Let's see if you can give me a look at the neighborhood. Can you slide in there? So I've been doing my live chat here. You want me to go off? Do you have privacy, or do you want to be part of the live chat? It doesn't matter. Yeah. We'll just, yeah. What does that thing say on the? That's oh wait. Here you go. It's called a menu. But that's the special. Tell me what the special is. No, it's not. Yeah, they got a lot. So I had a breakfast already.
Oh, you done did that one.
Yeah, well, I usually have 2 meals here because this is like my office. It has pretty good Wi-Fi. So,
We'll come get you the tray.
Hi, I'm just gonna have water.
All right, you know what you want to eat? You know what you want to eat?
Not yet, but give me a minute.
we're working on it. Thank you, dear.
Yeah.
So there's sides. Do they have fried okra?
Nope.
No.
They got crinkle fried,
Nah.
small tots, large tots, French fries,
No.
large French fries,
No.
onion rings, and chicken tenders.
Yeah. My favorite of this kind of facility's food is fried okra. That's my favorite.
Fried okra.
Yeah, that's my favorite. They don't have it. They used to in the other place. And the lady, you know Jen, the lady who was right over there, Jen, she's the boss. It's her place. Can you grab me one of those menus over there? Whoops.
Let me see here. Let me give her.
Thank you, dear. I now have to wear this to read, Max. The glasses you have don't work anymore. Wraps. Wraps look interesting. But I have a hard time where I have to bite something since I have no teeth. Home fries, chicken tenders, crinkly fries. And they used to make their own slaw, and now they get it out of a bag. Yes, I mean, so 12, okay. Nothing striking your fancy, eh? But do you know in Hampton, that kind of diner that's right at the Four Corners where the Dollar General is, right? That is,
On the right there.
yeah. That is actually an amazingly good food place.
Used to be a really good place.
It still is. It still is.
I used to eat there when I used to have to go get stuff from Home Depot.
Yeah.
From Big Lots.
So, and not only that, like, I don't know what did it say the special cost? Like $8 here, probably, right? Their special is still $6, and their breakfast is still the same cost. Even though the lady who owns it said, I used to get 10 dozen eggs for $30. Now it's $80,
Yeah.
but you're still charging the same cost. So it's very interesting.
Well, I don't think I was going to have it.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna get a cheese. So, what's the most interesting thing that has come? You know that book you gave me, last book you gave me about John, right? And then there were other books in that series. Did you read the other books?
I've read 2 of them.
Okay. Were they
3 and 4.
as good or better than the original that book you gave me?
Yeah.
So, what was the motif of those other books? I would say the motif of the first book is that we're the decider. I mean, if you were going to put it to one sentence or one word, that would be it. What were the other 2?
Well, one of them is covering Buddha.
Right?
That's one of the books.
Well, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
And a lot different than what most people read
No kidding.
about. Since they had an input from Buddha,
Right. Exactly. The horse's mouth. Yep.
it's very good. Some of the sayings that had been used by Buddha, of course, have been twisted around.
Right. Just like the ones that Jesus said. Yeah.
They were twisted around.
Right.
And this is what it really meant.
Right.
This is what we really were talking about. Yes, good.
So is he. After you, handsome.
I have a cheeseburger with onion and lettuce and tomato, mayonnaise.
You said cheeseburger. Green fries are you?
And I will have the same. And if the chef could take the vegetables, the tomatoes, the lettuce, the onions, and put them on the grill to soften them, since I have no teeth.
So tomato, lettuce, and onion. You want them on the grill.
Right, cook them up first so they're soft, so I can eat them.
You need fries?
But the same way, mayonnaise and
Yeah.
Not
Just on the grill. I'll just tell them.
I
Jeff and I
appreciate it.
just come back from a ride, and he's looking at a few things. And I come down here to meet Al at the restaurant. So I'm walking down the he said hello.
Hey there, P.
Yeah, he said hello back.
Well, you guys need to come to the Deep Green one weekend, one sunny day.
I'll give you a shout just as soon as you give me some kind of news. Huh? Right, okay. I said I would give you a call as soon as he gives me some input. He knows I'm down there. He's got my phone number. So we talked shop for about 20 minutes and took a ride. And he's got a few ideas to go with that. Yeah, me too. I'll give you a shout here in a little bit. Oh, you stay at night. You stay cool. You get heat up, come out in the house. Okay. Okay. All righty. Okay. See you soon. Bye.
So where's Pete? Back home?
Yeah, so she had the chiropractor this morning.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And, do this, do that. She wants to go work in the garden. It's awful hot to work in the garden.
Oh man, I work in the garden. I go to sleep when it gets dark, like around 9, dark 30, right? And I wake up when the birds start singing around 5:30.
You run out of sleep.
Right.
So you go to bed when the sun goes down.
And I wake up when it comes up. But I'm in that holler, so the sun really doesn't go deep into that. It's around 11 in the morning. So I wake up, I meditate, I pray, I get my body into homeostasis so I can move around, and then I start moving around. And I don't really eat. I drink some water, and then I do,
You got good drinking water where you're at.
right. I don't know how long it'll last in that. So
Yeah.
all of those lots have been sold again to people who had money. They just bought them up like last year like that. Nobody's building anything. They're selling them again to other stupid rich people for twice what they paid for them, right? So,
Nobody wants to build to the bubble building.
right. And so, but they will buy the property. And,
They will buy the property.
right. And so, and they'll spend almost anything for it. It's like really, and like the crappy house that's on the top of the hill there, right? Went for $500,000. When it was built, it cost $36,000 to build it. It's a piece of crap.
That's even worse.
And
Some
it's
of our finest yucky craftsmen in the area built it.
right,
man.
the meth boys.
Oh, the meth.
Instead of the pep boys, the meth boys. Oh, and those folks are really sad because we have no health care in this county whatsoever. And I'm lucky I'm only 2 miles to the North Carolina border because I legally can get health care in Boone because I'm right on the border.
Oh,
And my state pays half of it. And North Carolina pays a third. And I barely, I give them 25 cents every time I see them. And I kind of cajole them into taking care of me. And they are pretty good. And so up in the Pogie meth land, all the folk who have high blood pressure, they can't afford their drugs, so they've been eating rat poison. Well, it does because it thins rat poisoning thins the rat's blood and they bleed to death, right? So the grandmas are just like nibbling, but it also gets them high. So to eat a bit, it's like it's like going for a speedball and you get fentanyl.
Disappeared all of us.
Right, exactly. So they've had about in the last 2 years, 20 old people die of rat poison. And they see that they just nibble a bit too much. And they don't have a health department anymore.
All right.
When COVID hit, they're the way of dealing with it. Let's get rid of the health department.
Everybody dies.
And the only statistics I could find was from that funeral home across the street, next to the where your car is being fixed. I know that guy relatively well. And the Italian restaurant, I used to have a salad and then sit outside. That guy would come and we'd talk. And summer of 20. I said, so how many people more have died this, 7 months from last year, 7 months? I said, well, last year we had 38 people die. This year we had 900.
Figure it out. Don't take nobody real.
Right. And what niche were they in? Basically all old. It was like, okay.
But it's affecting kids and everything.
Everybody. Well, they did it on purpose. Those kids should have stayed in school. Those people should have been working. That's not the plan. They wanted to disrupt everything to the point where they became psychotic. And And then the kid can't buy a 6-pack of beer until he's 21. But hey, man, he can buy 6 AR-15s, you know, and body armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the cops eat here, right? And when that thing happened in Texas, and those cops, and it came out that the cops, first of all, you know, the parents showed up before the cops did, and they were about to go in and save their kids because everybody in Texas has a gun, right? So they were armed, and the cops tasered them and put them on the ground. So, I kind of wanted. Oh, he's still grilling up the vegetables.
Yeah, that the
Oh,
grilled are.
Oh, you're the best.
You in there?
Yep, they're in there. You know, I need this to see. You know, I wasn't wearing it.
It's just mine's more visible than
Yeah,
yours.
yes, exactly. They did exactly what I asked. They go. So, you know, there were these, you know, 8 big strapping cops right at the door, listening to the guy kill those kids, and they didn't do anything. And then this guy who was a border policeman lived in that town, and he heard something going on, so called a buddy of his, who was the ICE guy, and they showed up about 40 minutes into what was going on. And they, you know, the cops had their perimeter, and these guys, and they saw these other people like tie wrapped to the ground, and they were screaming, "The kids were in there!" The kids, you know. So they had a little tussle about that. And then they went in, and there were like 8 guys right at the door, hearing this guy, and he didn't just machine gun; he shot them, you know, and then made the other kids scream and yell and be traumatized. And half of them he shot and didn't kill them outright. They bled to death because those cops standing in the hallway wouldn't go in. They had gone in immediately and got those kids. More than half of them would have survived. And so those guys, the ICE guys, kicked the door down, shot the guy, got everyone out. And then the county and the state lied about what happened to the police, and so, but everybody and his brother had their little phone videotaping, so
Everybody saw what really happened. How come your story and this don't look alike?
Mm-hmm. Now, that's the interesting thing that's going on. I really actually feel very positive because all through history, the thing that really happens is the unexpected consequence. All these powerful people can plan all they want, but love co-creation always brings forth what is going to happen. It might be a little messy. It might be, you know, but what's going on in Ukraine? What's your take on that? What's your take on Ukraine?
Frank. Well, seems like that we have evil taking numbers for how many clubs they can get into their club. Like the Nazis, the UKs themselves, the other Russians, Biden, whoever they are, Chinese, Eagles got it all wrapped up in that, but it's going down.
The unipolar agenda. And they all like the really interesting thing is the Ukraine war is the war of the blacks. Because there's Vladimir Putin and the stand-up comedian who's president for Ukraine. His name is Vladimir too. And what's really interesting is that they are both representing the evil. But this could have been fixed for the last 14 years. It could have been fixed many, many times.
Yep.
And people hate it when I talk about how this is all scripted out, and it really isn't what it is. It's not this Russian thing or blah blah blah.
I guess Obama thought that once they were out of office, they were free and clear from making all these death labs everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You could not open it up.
And the mistakes people make. To connect any individual, like Obama, or Putin, or Donald Trump, or Richard Nixon, as the guys who were doing this. So Obama was just another white man scumbag. Along with guys like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, they're all the same. They're poster boys. Those clowns haven't invented anything.
No.
This little thing, you know, it's the keyhole satellite was in the 1970s, spy satellite could read the stuff off a cigarette package, right? To listen to everybody's telephone call, blah, blah, blah. That's what this is. They just miniaturized it and put it in all our hands. It's a surveillance device.
And you pay for it.
Right. I mean, Google should be paying us money for using Google.
Yeah.
And they will, you know. I mean, they basically gave us, I mean, my smartphone I got at Walmart for $20. That's virtually giving it to me. You know?
Well, you're right. That's what it does.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while they look at you, listen to you.
Mm-hmm. Put it into an algorithm and figure out more about you than you know about yourself. I'm not saying a bad cheeseburger. I'll give it a B. Not like, oh my God, but not bad. And at least they cooked the vegetables just so I could eat them.
That too.
I've asked in restaurants, things like that, you know, could you do it this way? Oh no. We only do it one way. See you later. Guy almost came in to have lunch with us. And see, it's really interesting about good and evil because they're so subjective, they're almost irrelevant. Because evil is something that we as the deciders, we can choose. No one's, oh, you got to be evil, right? And what is evil? You know, so it's like pretty subjective, right? And it's just part of what that book was talking about, the first one you gave me, about the mechanisms where you have to teach yourself who and what you really are. If everything was sugar plums and fairies, you know, we would not be really having the opportunity to learn about who and what we really are. And yes, it can be pretty god awful, like in Ukraine. But it's way worse. I mean, there is no upside to what's going on in Ukraine for either side. I mean, Russia is destroying the whole that whole place that they want. I mean, that was like the heavy industry section of Ukraine. So they're blowing up every square inch of it. So every refinery, every chemical plant, everything is right. So they won't be able to use any of that land in 300 years. You know,
why do they? Why And they will probably, at the end of the day, have the Russians will have 100,000 dead soldiers, and maybe 500,000 that are messed, like won't be able to work, have to be taken care of for the rest of their life. Right? The same for the Ukraine. I mean, it's, like I said, this could have been fixed. I mean, the real issues are very minuscule. No big deal.
Usually is.
Yep. Yep. Your car boy.
Hello? Oh, that's okay. I'd rather look at it so I can try to figure out is it going to be noise on me or that I spend a little clue about it. Okay, great. Work. What kind of work? Oh, park. Park. I don't know where it is. Yeah, we've got one someplace. Blue one. Blue one. Hold it up someplace. I haven't seen it since they unloaded it.
Well, how you guys doing here? Anybody along for the ride? Yeah, there's two of you. So you enjoying lunch with Al and friends? Oh, Chris is there. Hey, bitch. Back to work.
We'll see what time Jeff lets me go. I can probably do that. I'll give you a shot. Last time we didn't have all this turf last time I came through. We had those paintings.
So my friend here is a brother electrician and much more. He's a brother alchemist, a brother magician of time and space. He's got some really good stories. But I'll let him tell them to you at another time.
All right.
So how's your pony doing?
How's my wife doing?
Pony, your car.
Don't know.
My pony is, I have to like, before I started, light incense, candles, say a prayer, and offering at the altar,
Me too.
and then it runs.
But I'm gonna run back up there because he should be getting to the point that he needs my open doses. I gotta shoot her. I'm gonna see.
I appreciate that, my friend.
You got it.
So, like I said, you and your sweetie should one nice, and I'm always there on Saturdays and Sundays. Mostly, I'm always there on Sundays. I may go to the church up the road from me once in a while, but I'll always be back by noon. And you probably wouldn't get out of your house and on my way. You probably wouldn't get there until 1. But
Yeah.
on my
Depends on how
porch,
much spray they put in between me and you two.
right?
I got 2 places already that I go around.
I'm just saying any day, any Sunday that you get free and you want like a little adventure and gas prices come down. Like I don't go anywhere unless I got to do 10 things,
I'm the same way. We have our list.
I mean, you're my third guy I've had a meal with. So before you go, I'll tell you one thing. This one guy was kind of, he was over there and I was reading his energy. And so this interesting guy, he said a few things and then I interested and he came over, we talked. Well, he was in the military and he was in Londonshire in England when the flying saucers were landing. And so I started asking him like real pointed questions because I had access to a bunch of things that were there. And they had fried his brain. I mean, he said, well, I was here at this date and da-da-da. So I said, from Saturday to Monday, what happened? I don't remember. And then I asked him, but I don't remember. But other things he knew, sharp as, he's as sharp as that.
That's the way someone comes back to you.
Little pieces.
It helps too if you bump into somebody else that was there at the same time.
Right.
I mean, it seems like that you regenerate something.
Yes,
between you.
it opens up the door. But that's what I was doing with him. And it got to a point where he kind of freaked out and ran away. I mean, he's really interested. He got more and more interested. And he's a smart guy, well-read. He doesn't come from here. He just moved here. He's trying to hide from what's coming. And I said, buddy, you don't know that you came to the ground zero. So, your girl over there has the Thai restaurant. I went over there, and that place is interesting. She's got a little dementia, so she's not out front anymore. And so she has her oldest son and the next daughter, and the next daughter is really sweet and nice, and he's like pushy, and I'm in charge, and I own everything, but I saw her go, good, you chop it up. Because I got there right the minute they opened last Saturday. So I said, I'm looking for a place that had something to eat, and I only had $10. And boy, their prices went up. So anyway, I sat there virtually the whole day. And this old butler guy came up, and he told the story of how Butler got flooded. And he was like in his 18, 19s, and he was in the Air Force, and he's a smart guy. And he was working, he said, in the 1960s and 70s, I was working on quantum computers. And then he worked for Texas Instruments, and then he worked for Hewlett Packard, and then he got stock options, and then he did a few other things, and then he kind of retired, right? Yeah. But we were talking about stuff, and he said the real reason they flooded everything is because there's shit at the bottom of that area that they don't want anyone to see.
I believe it because I saw them close up entrances to the cave with probably $80,000, $100,000 worth of material.
And that the big power lines that go around us, I'm kind of twit that it's a fence. It's an electromagnetic fence keeping something in. Because it doesn't go anywhere. It just goes around. And it actually, the juice those things isn't as big as the juice they're generating in that dam. That dam is just a poster boy of something. It has nothing. All it did was to flood that whole valley.
I told you about the generator.
Yeah, it's like something. Your alternator in your car has more power.
I don't think so. I said I've been down to the other dams when I was a kid.
Right.
And they're like jet engines with water going.
Right.
Pyrosane.
Right.
Down.
Yep. So it's not what it was.
They showed me this with a little paddle wheel on the other
Yeah.
side.
Right. No.
You might tell these folks that.
Right.
Sorry, I know.
But this guy, he was like just the right age, had gone up to the Air Force, and he's like really smart. So they really educated him on engineering, electronics, and this. And he came back, and his grandma's crying because the water's creeping up to her front steps. And that's the time the feds came and said, "We're taking your property, get out. Here's a check for $100. Take it or leave it. And if you make a muss, we're putting you in jail."
Kind of what they told my great granddaughter. He had a 5-mile square farm that he bought on auction. The state wanted to sell parcels off and get back to it. Kids come along and took it away at a penny an acre.
Right.
Took the best land too.
Yes. Yep.
And
And
then my great grandfather was coming out.
yes, and that's happened. That's why this whole valley here is not just economically depressed, emotionally and psychologically depressed. Because they were never economically depressed. They were an amazing group of people who, no matter what was thrown their way, they did really well with it. No matter what. And what you feel when you can't come in here because of the way they spray. You're just the canary in the coal mine. I mean, it really affects you.
I'll be the canary. If I had known then what I know now,
Right.
I would have said, up yours.
But
I would have made a better choice.
yes, they grabbed you at a young age. Or you could have navigated your situation and still been there and seen the shit that you needed to see and not get fucked where you got fucked. Yeah. Anyway, I'm pretty much always over there. My phone, get going. It's kind of miraculous. So the rich guys who took all that whole corner near Pioneer Landing, Biden's Build Back Better. They got $20 million to bring fiber over there, right? But they only put it in the rich people's neighborhoods. And they stuck it on 5G on top of the power lines, not big towers, just right on your, so it's like right in your living room. And unless you have a really super duper smartphone, it doesn't work like my little one. I used to be able to get 1 in 3 calls in and out. I'm on the bottom of the list. But I asked the link guys, I said, "What's going on?" They said, "Well, all the rich people coming in, and all of this system goes to them. And if they're not here and they're not using it and their phones aren't thinking on, maybe you'll get a call." Maybe. I love you. We'll see each other again soon. Yeah, thank you. Go. That was my third meal of the day. I'm waiting for one more to come. and then I'm off. So those are the kind of people I know. And there are a lot of amazing people here. Even though people think this is a basket of deplorables, blah, blah, blah. No. And the churches around here, they're falling apart now. But when I first came here, they were great communities. Right? It was so sad. A bunch of these people who grew up here, and their mommy and daddy were farmers, dirt farmers, truck farmers. And then they went off to college, got a degree, got a job, went off, did something. Mommy and daddy getting sick, they're retiring, and come back in their late 50s and take care of mom and dad, take care of the farm. And about 10 years ago, they started a co-op. They've got this old high school that the county just abandoned. They bought it for nothing. and they turned it into an incubator. And there are now 18 really interesting businesses there of people who were here who had an idea, and those people helped them build it. And they're making money out. They have their own bank. They have this. They have that. And up until the pandemic, they were having really a kick-ass farmers market. 40 or 50 people selling, and not just farmers, but guys like me, doing whatever you wanted. People selling their crafts, all of the above. And you only had to pay $10 for a table. Period. And so I went there last Saturday. There were only 4 people left. And the lady who was one of the masterminds, and she was a girl who's, triple Capricorn, wants to rule the world, but she's still at it. And it was like, I saw her and I said, "What's up? Where is everybody?" And she started to cry. And she said, "Well, with all of this, the price of gas and everything that's happened in the last 2 years, the whole co-op is falling apart. The only thing keeping us alive is the incubator and all the businesses we helped start. They're paying the major bills." Hey, buddy. So, and that's what I'm seeing going on across the country. We're being taken apart. And so, love you, Max. Yep. And so, that's where we're at. And, let's see, what are you guys saying here? So it's good to have friends like that. Back to work. Dragon, yep. Yep. It's on the Esoteric Alchemical channel. I'll have to go look that up. So what can I say? That's about it. How much juice do I have left up here? Let's see. Ooh, I'm about to run out. About 7%. So it's never good for me to just disappear. So I'll talk a little bit more. Let's see, what have I been writing here to sum up? So everything that we are experiencing is image but no substance. Right? And what we are living is what love's unconditional love is a quantum reality. That's where we live, but nobody wants, to talk about. They're just starting to talk about quantum computing and quantum physics, and now that shit has been around for all the time that we've been here. We are quantum. Why this bag of water is animated? It's because of quantum physics. So anyway, that's about it. So we've been on for an hour and 30 minutes. So when we hit 30 minutes, 30 seconds, I'm going to bing off. So, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. And every day and every way. You take the piece of the earth and make it strong. You are the Kadra. You are the decider. You are that pebble in the pond that will make the ripple, that will make a change. And I am here. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I am your Sensei Al-Bab, your griot to tell you a story. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Come on, guys, throw something in the old PayPal. And remember, you want to get a hold of me, the dudeawake42 at Gmail. Dudeawake42 at Gmail. Dudeawake42 at Gmail. Okay? Boy, when you're looking at the counter, a watch pot never boils. It hadn't even hit 30 seconds. Oh, there we go. So, about 2 seconds in. So, I could probably read the Bible and still I wouldn't get to 30 seconds. And that is how quantum physics works. Okay? So you can have, you are here as the decider. You can, conscious intent, I am. Conscious intent, I am. Conscious awareness, I am. You can attain anything, and you can be safe in any place you go. I love you. Take care. Stay well. Talk to you soon. Maybe in an hour or two. I want to go back the other way.